The Justin Robert Young program is brought to you, as always, by The Contender, the game of presidential debate. Go ahead on over to The Contender. Right now, what you want to do is go ahead and click on our 2016 expansion. On that 2016 expansion, you are going to have the ability to get our brand new 100-card expansion. Man, it's super fun. I'm so proud of it. And by the way, celebrate with us as we go ahead and high five each other, because we no longer have any Kickstarter things to send out. Wahoo! We are out from under Kickstarter, and we could not be more excited about it. So head on over right now to thecontender.us to get this game before the summer happens. Man, you're going to be the most popular kid in school if you got this. And buy stickers or DIAF. Hey, do you want stickers? Well, head to stickers or DIAF. That's where you get all the cool stickers, like the Spearmint Nitrate Jury had, the JuRY Dare logo sticker, our Politics cover art, and a couple Spearmint Nitrate originals. I got a Robot Face Bro and a Knife Fight Captain Morgan. Mahoy. Stickers are only $5. Head on over there right now to stickers or DIAF.com to get yours now. And by hacking the system, this podcast has been nominated for a podcast award. You can vote for it every day. The easiest way to do it is to go to hat.t2t2.eu, hat.t2t2.eu. There you can grab yourself a little bookmarklet, and it makes voting every single day very, 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 very easy. Man, we want to win this award. We are in the mature category, and I could have the chance to bring home back-to-back mature awards, one for Night Attack and one for JuRY. Please help us out. Vote every day. Hey, yay, yay, yay. Vote every day at hat.t2t2.eu. Follow the instructions on the side. We also are brought to you by Patreon, but you want to know what? We got a lot to talk about with that coming up, so what do you say we just go ahead and do the show?
Ugly ain't the half, look at you. Well, you got blue teeth and you only got 2 teeth, but I kinda like to see you smile. And it appears that over the years you've turned into a big old steaming pile. And she said, yeah, I know I ain't no supermodel. I said, you ain't a hand model, baby, but that's fine. You're pretty ugly by most people's standards, but you're all right by mine.
Whoa, my God! Man, this is normally a one mic podcast. It ain't a one mic podcast this week, because, ladies and gentlemen, joining me is my lovely wife, Ashley Paramore.
Hello.
This is a crazy, you ever had those times in your life when you just take stock, right? Because I think both of us have a similar personality trait where we tend to put our head down and just kind of work, right? And very often it's very easy to lose the forest for the trees.
Yes.
So it helps, it's good when we can actually take a second to look back and say, oh, wow, look, we've come pretty far. Yeah. And I'm just now realizing, literally just this moment, how much right now is one of those moments. Because we have what I would say is insane, crazy kind of news with this JuRY in Your House tour. And the more I wrap my head around it, the more it's like this like crazy idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm married to such a lovely,
Still-
amazing person.
Still married.
I'm still married.
Good game.
We're
You've come
we're,
really close.
we're rapidly coming up on our first anniversary.
I know. What are we gonna do?
Go to DragonCon.
Well, I mean, obby, totes ob.
That's where we got married. And that's where we're always gonna celebrate our
Yeah.
anniversary. Welcome. Man, we got a bunch to talk about. Now I know that we're gonna get back to me just talking about stuff that isn't me talking about the show. At some point, I'll be able to do that.
Okay.
But these weeks, like last week, the couple weeks before, and hopefully this will be the last week of me taking up the first segment, talking about the show. Because, I realized last night I was watching. We had a bunch of people over for a little VR party
Mm-hmm.
because we are.
We're those people.
We're parodies of our modern era.
Yeah.
Uh,
We are like painfully more and more stereotypes of the Bay Area the longer we live here.
yeah,
Like-
that's safe to say.
Like
right?
I went from nonprofit,
Uh-huh.
and you have now
you
gone.
can say where, right? Because it
well, I
both,
worked. Yeah.
both were very, very, very leftist Bay
yeah.
Area
Well, so
nonprofits, right?
I worked most recently for PETA.
Yeah.
Before that, I worked for a climate science nonprofit. And then before that, I worked for Secular Student Alliance in Ohio. So they're all like these kind of, not that they're inherently lefty, but lefties tend to like them.
Sure.
um,
that is a good way
so-
to put it.
I did that.
It's like, it's not that Hardee's is only there for people who aren't healthy, but people who aren't healthy tend to like Hardee's.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically.
Okay.
So there's that.
Uh-huh.
You went ahead and you quit your air quotes day job
Yes.
with the Go game,
Which was
and now you are
professional, complicated duck goose
yes
for a living.
very complicated,
Very-
in an orange jumpsuit.
In an orange jumpsuit, just in case, I was basically a guitar and wheels on the bus away from being
Yep.
like children's entertainment.
You were really close.
I was. So I quit it
but
now
much hairier.
because we graduated to even more Bay Area
Yep,
jobs.
and now I work for a tech company.
Well, no. A tech company even makes it sound like it's and I don't want to take anything away from Twitch, but like Twitch is a company. When I explain Twitch to people, you have to go conceptually, because you can't just say, oh, it's an app, right? And you can't really just say, oh, it's a website. Like Twitch is just it's a place where people play video games and you do stuff,
and
right?
creative stuff.
Creative stuff.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, I'm just saying that it's a very Bay Area concept.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
Very much so is. And
And then
but it's-
I became an independent podcaster.
Yep.
Which might be even more of a stereotype. And now we sit here and we have VR parties.
Yep. So cheers. Cheers to that.
Cheers to that. It is a long weekend for everybody who is listening to this on Memorial Day. Man, there's a lot of podcasts I'm sure that are out there that are, they're
Slacking.
taking the day off.
Slacking.
Taking the day off. Like I'm going to do on Hotline Monday, but not the JuRY Show. We're here for you and your entertainment, even and more specifically on your day off. Let's go ahead and get into the big news. Thank you again. Man, we are officially over $800 on the JuRY Patreon. That means $800 a week. And here we are. We are officially here.
Exactly. Like
Exactly
on the
at
nose.
$800. 433 patrons. So we have done... we were kicking around at like 630 at 420, which of course is... and in that 13, we have gone up over $200. Which means that, of course, some people are way over pledging.
First, I'd like to thank everyone who has pledged to Get Justin Out of My House tour Very excited about
Oh,
that. I get it
jeez.
to myself as he abandons our bird children.
Say goodnight, Gracie. All right, so
And-
here's the deal. We have a really amazing. So basically, I mean, like the idea was that at 700, two things would happen. Number one, we do a call-in show, and we are setting up doing a call-in show, and we would do our pilot maiden voyage of the JuRY in Your House tour. Now, it is only now becoming clear to me that I don't know if I've ever cleared any of this with you.
You haven't. You haven't. I did not know, and I was actually kind of irritated about it at first because when I heard you first start kind of talking about it on the podcast, like just as I'm doing dishes in the other room or
Yeah.
cleaning the house, and you suddenly start talking about like going to strangers' houses where you'll likely be murdered.
I'm
So,
not gonna
like,
get murdered.
I mean, you don't know that.
I mean, it's highly likely that I won't get murdered.
Yeah.
Wait, but that's not.
I-
Your, that's
no,
not,
that's not-
That's
that's
not
not
your
it.
chief worry.
No.
I'm
it's-
sure that you were kind of cheesed off. But can I guess why you were kind of cheesed off?
you'll probably get it.
Because we need to organize our schedules. Because you are also traveling.
That's
a
one
lot.
part.
Yeah.
That and like part of me is like, well, what just from like the monetary side of it, like how much is it going to cost to do this every single month or 6 months or whatever?
Well, we're
And
not
maybe-
doing it. We're not doing it regularly until we get to 1,000.
Oh, okay.
700 is just the pilot, the test,
Gotcha.
right?
Hmm.
But this is actually happening. We crossed 700. Now we're up to 800. This is definitely going down. June 10th, 11th, and 12th. We will begin in Louisville, Kentucky, on the 10th. That will be for politics. So I'll do the live politics. We have a very, very nice person, a nice man. You're a nice man. Because he will be hosting me in his father's house down in downtown Louisville. And so we'll do the show, and then we'll all hang out and go get drinks and have a good time. Cincinnati is on Saturday. We the patron saint of this entire thing is hot beverages in Cincinnati. She's the one who started everything off with the like, please come to my city emails, which we got dozens and dozens and dozens of. She's the one who upped her pledge to actually have it go over 700. So she is our hostess with the mostess for Saturday in Cincinnati. And then Sunday, I will be back in Chicago because I'm going to loop in and out of O'Hare for JuRY. The location for that is still in flux. But I was comfortable putting Chicago on there because I know people in Chicago. Push comes to shove, I just have to talk them into letting strangers come into their apartment.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. That's what we're doing. I will be out on tour. How do you think this is going to go?
I think it's going to go fine. You're going to get really drunk. You're going to do some podcast. And maybe next time you do it, ask your wife.
So if I were to do this again, and we don't get
I
to do
guess-
this, we don't get to do this so much because we did in the lead up to our wedding, we did a podcast called JuRYMORE together, which was a lot of our relationship. This is very much a JuRYMORE reminiscent type of episode. If I were to do this again, how could I do things differently to be more considerate with you?
Well, you already know, like, one of them is just, like, dates. Like, knowing dates. And also, like,
Telling you about it, I guess.
telling me about it's the number one thing.
Telling
Like,
you about it
give me a
before I
heads
tell
up.
the internet about it.
Yeah. You guys all knew before I did.
Well, to be
Like-
fair, I only introduced the concept.
Uh-huh. And
Dates-
you
dates
just
didn't-
rolled on with it.
Yeah, I mean, dates didn't come around until like I only booked the flight yesterday.
Oh, the flights are booked now.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, that's why I can give away dates.
Oh.
Do you know how much it is?
No?
Do you want to know how much it is?
Sure. Did
Will
you
you
use
get
frequent
mad?
flyer miles?
Is there a number for which you would get mad?
Ooh, that's a good question.
What number?
Possibly.
All right, we're going to see if we can generate a live fight on this podcast.
Jesus.
What number, if I told you that I spent it on this, would you get mad at?
Okay, so we're talking everything. We're talking flight, car.
Yeah, I haven't booked the car, but
How many days on the road are you?
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, fly back Monday morning.
Ooh, that's quick. So, like, I want to say $1,000.
$1,000 would make you mad.
Just because you booked it so late.
Okay. We're in a fight.
Really?
No, just kidding. It's way
What
under.
was it?
Well, part of the reason why
Because my guess would be is like a round trip flight out of Chicago would probably be $400 or $500.
Okay.
And then whatever the car is.
So there's a little bit of fartery going on because I still have status, and so I can book times that aren't great for me, knowing that I'll probably be able to just sit at the airport and get standby at the very least. But with kind of poopy times, the flight is only $250.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, that's fine. That's doable.
Yeah.
Totes my goats.
As soon as I realized, and this is JuRY's geography lesson, that it's drivable from Chicago to Kentucky to Louisville.
I mean, it's like 8 hours at least, right?
No, it's like 5, I think. All right, let's play a game
Well,
of
'cause I know
Justin figures out
Columbus-
now live here. Let's go
As he
ahead.
puts in our
to,
address.
No, we're not putting in our address. I've only done that 3 or 4 times. Here we go. That is Oakland, of course. Let's say Chicago, Illinois. Let's go to O'Hare, right? Directions from O'Hare to Louisville, Kentucky.
I just know the drive from. Oh, that's not terrible.
4 hours and 48 minutes.
I guess Columbus is further because Columbus is like a 6-hour drive.
Yeah, so we'll be driving through Indianapolis.
Okay, that's much more direct than I've driven. Anyway, that's boring radio.
All I'm saying is that, like, as soon as I found out that that's drivable, I was like, oh, man. Like, I just need to be booking all these through, like, as long as I'm booking things through Chicago and Houston, I can do any of these way cheap from San Francisco because they fly, because United flies there super cheap all the time. And I didn't use any frequent flyer miles. So there we go. Here's the deal. The next step for all of this is if you are in one of those cities, keep an eye on my social media at Justin R. Young, and we'll be doing basically a. I think I'm gonna do an interview with Marion Call. I at least need to email Marion Call because I got to ask her about the ins and outs of these In Your House tour because this is totally inspired by her.
Okay.
She was the first person that I'd ever heard of doing like.
I didn't even know this was a thing she did.
No, like living room concerts.
Yeah.
Like she would just go out on tour because for her, like for a musician, right? She can book X amount of dates, but if in the middle she's doing like other little things that are just like maybe a couple $100, but it's not stagnant, then at least she can pay for living expenses. I'm basically taking all the profitability out of a tour and only doing the puttering around. But for the sake of you, the listener. But I think the way that she does it is if you want to go, then you email in and she puts you on a mailing list with like the neighborhood of where it is, right? And then like the day of the event, she'll send you the address. So the address isn't permanently listed anywhere on the internet.
So it's not not random people knocking on the door.
Yeah. Less of a random person knocking on the door kind of thing. So there we go. That's the JuRY In Your House tour. Louisville, Cincinnati, Chicago. If you are in any of those cities, I am coming to your house and life June 10th, 11th, and 12th. We will have much more on this upcoming, including, but not limited to, anything else that we're going to do. But here on this show, we're going to be talking about this gorilla that got killed when a dumb kid fell in his pen. Coming up right after this. Oh, snap. Man, I'll tell you what. We have been doing this for how long? And I still have no idea how this board works. This board is still complete witch doctory to me. Okay, so story out of Cincinnati. Speaking of Cincinnati, a famous gorilla. You know, gorillas could have fame. Gorillas knew the concepts of fame.
Did he have a Twitter?
Okay, is there a gigantic hum in the line right now? Because it looks like there is a gigantic hum in the line. I don't know whether this is all... Okay, well, people don't hear it, so... Little staticky, but whatever. Okay.
Take two.
Take two. Famous gorilla in Cincinnati. His name was, he said, foreshadowing. What was his name? Harambe.
Harambe.
All right.
Say it with me, kids. Harambe.
17-year-old Western lowland gorilla killed on Saturday because a young boy fell into the zoo's habitat. And because it is their safety procedure, they had to shoot the gorilla to preserve the life of the child.
I want to know, like, how the kid got in there. One, like, that seems like a design flaw.
Certainly a design flaw, right? So people are upset about this quite a bit.
Yeah.
They are very, very, very upset. They are now looking to possibly try and get criminal charges pressed on the parents.
Really?
Because it was the parents' negligence that led to their kid getting out, that led to the zoo enacting their safety procedure to shoot the gorilla.
That seems weird. Like, on one hand, it's hard telling, right? But anybody that's been around little kids, they disappear. They are like slimy, germy snakes that will run away from you and go out of sight. So like I feel very weird about inherently punishing the parents for something like this.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
So the boy was 4 years old. He was
So
released.
he's a short one. He like run between your legs.
Oh yeah, was released unharmed from the Cincinnati hospital on Saturday. The zoo reopened on Sunday, although Gorilla World, home to 9 western lowland gorillas, less, I guess it was 10 before, was now closed. Now, I'm not here to give any kind of gigantic proclamation on who was right and who was wrong here. I think it's safe to say that this was a tight spot for everybody.
Yeah.
The gorilla's just kind of chilling. All of a sudden, he's getting shot. The boy is being a boy of 4, being curious, winds up getting further into trouble than he would like, right? And the zoo, like, they gotta have that rule in, right?
Yeah.
Now I'm kind of I don't know where you want to go with this.
I mean, I could go like full on vegan mode. I don't know.
Do you want to
go
get?
full
Oh
on
no,
vegan.
go full vegan.
Like,
go full vegan.
Go full vegan.
Yeah, go full vegan.
No, the bottom line is like, well, okay. So you've got this animal in an enclosed space, a wild animal. By the way, full disclosure, hypocrites, because we have parrots, which are wild animals, though they were born and bred in captivity, which is a whole own different conversation. But I mean,
which
I don't
that is
see-
always the ethical zoo argument. Is that sure? If we lived in a world where everything was always free, right?
Well,
then everything would be free. Unfortunately, there are animals born and bred in captivity.
Well, the counter argument to that, though, is
Okay.
that there are a
this
number.
is full vegan.
Oh, if we're going full vegan, guys.
Yeah.
There are a number of animal sanctuaries. So if you actually cared about the animals and wanted them to have more space, like you could put them in one of these sanctuaries, and they do have. God, there's actually a big one in Florida. I'm trying to remember the name of, but. For chimps, this wasn't a chimp though. That was a gorilla, so it's a little different. Bottom line,
Monkey Jungle?
not Monkey Jungle.
Is Monkey Jungle bad or good?
Bad.
Monkey Jungle's bad?
Technically, yeah.
There's no barriers.
Yeah,
It's just in a big mangrove.
yeah, larger conversation. Well, the issue there is more breeding than anything.
Oh, gotcha.
So breeding for profit, and zoos are inherently like a profit organization. Like even though they're
They
like
are.
non-profit,
They have
yeah.
a profit and loss, right? Like they
Yeah.
have if they don't make money, then they can't buy.
and that's
food
why a
and
lot of them
yada, yada, yada.
breed and like so on. So I mean, my thought is like this is a reason that we shouldn't have zoos and wild animals in captivity. So. Like, sure, we can have conversations on is it the zoo's fault or is it the parents' fault or whatever, but either of those are a moot point in my mind.
Okay.
Versus, the overall captivity conversation.
So here's my thought on this. Because I have no problem if somebody wants to believe that zoos should not exist. In fact, that was really my problem with the Blackfish movie.
Yeah.
Like, I thought the Blackfish movie was good. Except for the fact that, like, they disguised this movie about, hey, FC World, right? When really, the movie was like, we shouldn't have zoos.
Basically.
And no animals should live in captivity.
Yeah.
And I just wanted it to be like, no, just say what you mean, man. Just say what you mean. That it's not like SeaWorld is a bad offender. Because, sure, they make a compelling case that SeaWorld is a bad offender, right?
Yeah.
Although, that being said, if you think SeaWorld's bad, like, I used to go to the Miami Seaquarium when I was a kid.
They get attacked a lot.
And they should. It's terrible.
They have the orca that has the smallest amount of space anywhere in the world.
It is like a bathtub that they keep these animals in. Like, so SeaWorld at least, like, and maybe that's my perspective. Is I went to Miami Seaquarium as a kid. I'm like, oh my God, this is really, really sad and pathetic. And then you go to SeaWorld and you're like, oh my God, look at the luxurious amount of space these animals have. Long story short, if you hate zoos, you don't want zoos to exist, cool. All right. Say what you mean. I'm with you there. I don't know if I agree with you, but I understand your point. But there is a larger thing beyond this, right? Because that's a philosophical argument.
Yeah.
Zoos. And I think even within that philosophical argument, you can say logistically that there is room at least for like, hey, you can't just let all the animals out tomorrow, even if you wanted to transfer them to sanctuaries.
Like that guy in Ohio who had all his animals that got shot.
Ace Ventura?
No, there was
I'm
a
joking.
guy that had a bunch of wild animals,
Uh-huh.
and right before like killing himself, he let all of them go. And,
Oh,
like,
my God.
A bunch of like tigers, and I think all but like 3 or 4 of the animals were shot. But I think it was like, I want to say like between 20 and 80 wild animals. I know there's a big range. Someone Google it, throw it
See,
in
now
the chat.
that's
like
so
it's-
screwed up.
Yeah,
That's so
it
screwed
is
up.
pretty screwed up. But what were you gonna say though? There's the philosophical side of whether or
So
not we
and
should
then
have
and then
zoos.
and that's fine, right? And you can have that argument and you can say logistically like whether or not stuff should or shouldn't exist. That's cool. I'm with that. There is a fetishization of animals in our modern psyche. Specifically
Yeah.
to the point that we value them over human life. Because what a lot of people are really mad about with this gorilla is that the gorilla is dead. And I think if you were going to really ask people, and they knew that their answer would be totally kept in silence forever, if you were to say, hey, 4-year-old fell in the thing. Should the gorilla die for being a gorilla, even if it means risking the kid's life? Should they have tried to rescue the kid without killing the gorilla first? I think they would say yes. It would be worth it to endanger the kid's life more, statistically, to have a greater chance of saving the gorilla. Would that be? Do you think that that's off base? That there would be people that
I'm
would say
sure
that?
that there are.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are, totally.
Because this reminds me.
I know, like, my instinct when I first heard this was, like, why couldn't they just try and tranquilize the damn thing? Why did they have to go straight to shooting? Like, was it super aggressive and going after the kid? Like, I don't know.
Well, because I think that there's, even if you trank him, if the kid
That takes time.
is within reaching distance,
He's
like,
fucked.
Yeah, it's over. It's reminded me of Cecil the Lion, which is far different in the scope of its story. But that also folded in other things of like white privilege, and it was a trophy hunter that went and shot what was listed as a beloved lion. A beloved lion. And this was an international story. Oh my God, can you believe what they were doing? What happened to this beloved lion? And it reminded me of one of my favorite columns ever. This was written in the New York Times. You can search it at in Zimbabwe, we don't cry for lions. Okay? I just want to read from you. Read to you from this column. This was after the Cecil the Lion thing. This is August 4th, 2015. I'm going to skip around a little bit about it. My mind was absorbed by the biochemistry of gene editing when this text message and Facebook post distracted me. So sorry about Cecil. Did Cecil live near your place in Zimbabwe? Cecil who, I wondered. When I turned on the news and discovered that the messages were about a lion killed by an American dentist, the village boy inside me instinctively cheered. One lion fewer to menace families like mine. My excitement was doused when I realized that the lion killer was being painted as the villain. I faced the starkest cultural contradiction that I'd experienced during my 5 years studying in the United States. He then goes on to further decry the fact that people were so worked up over this Cecil the Lion thing, and tells a story about how a lion terrorized his village in Zimbabwe. When this lion that terrorized his village was killed, he goes on. We now read again. When the lion was finally killed, no one cared whether its murderer was a local person or a white trophy hunter, whether it was poached or killed legally. We danced and sang about the vanquishing of a fearsome beast and our escape from serious harm. Recently, a 14-year-old boy in a village not far from mine wasn't so lucky, sleeping on his family's fields as villagers do to protect crops from the hippos, buffaloes, and elephants that trample them. He was mauled by a lion and died. PETA is calling for the hunter to be hanged. Zimbabwean politicians are accusing the United States of staging Cecil's killing as a ploy to make our country look bad. And Americans who can't find Zimbabwe on a map are applauding the nation's demand for extradition of the dentist, unaware that baby elephants were reportedly slaughtered for our president's most recent birthday banquet. We Zimbabweans are left shaking our heads, wondering why Americans care more about African animals than African people. Now, a lot of that to me is very, 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 very funny. But we get to this core element right here. Zimbabweans are left shaking their heads, wondering why Americans care more about African animals than African people. I don't want to go into a long, completely uninformed diatribe about, support of African nations because it's a complicated one for the little that I know. But let's just even remove African from both of those, from that sentence. People caring more about animals than people. And I wonder, as somebody who has certainly worked in the most, oh, that would be a good word. The most
Big
caring.
vegan.
Well, yeah, the most caring arm of that, right? Where do you think it comes from? Where do you think the love for animals, even if it means that we need to take more chances with human life? So I don't mean the by and large 99% of even what PETA does, which is like stuff about factory farming and you know, like that kind of stuff. I'm not talking about any. Leave all that alone, right? I'm talking about just those people that are like, you want to know what? I would be okay if we let that kid be in danger a little bit longer to save that gorilla's life.
I feel like those people are the minority, though. Like, by
Oh, no.
far.
Oh, no.
Like,
I'm not saying that they're the majority.
yeah.
I'm saying that they are a loud minority. Fair to say it's a loud minority, though, right?
But if sure. If I were to guess where that comes from, and I really don't know, I would say it probably boils down to, you know, if they're looking at it from, if to argue probably maybe from the vegan perspective, if I were to guess, would be like, well, look at how many animals people kill every day.
Yeah.
You know, why, you know, and kind of just being fed up from that perspective. But I really don't know. I really don't know why someone would say that other than just general hatred for mankind. And you don't have to like animals for that.
Sure. So this is Justice for Harambe, a change.org survey, or sorry, petition. They have 5,816 supporters.
50,000.
50,000. Sorry, I'm not good with numbers.
Obviously.
And these are people who want charges brought against the parents. Now, again, I'm not like, something tells me that these parents probably feel terrible by themselves.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this is, I mean, we do not have kids, but I think we can, even us, dilettante, you know, kidless people in the Bay Area, can understand that, like, kids get loose.
Yeah.
That is a natural part of parenting. And sometimes they get loose in embarrassing or horrifying situations.
Which is why, in the unlikely event that we have children, we're going to have a Find My iPhone kind of chip in them so they just beep.
Oh,
when we
dude.
can find them.
Totally.
Yeah, no,
no.
that'll happen.
Yeah, there's definitely
Yeah.
just going to be, and we'll just have like a big sonar plate. Like this, like,
It'll just be a like laser beam light coming out so you can like see him miles away. And,
man,
like,
we're
run
going to
him
know where
down.
that kid is like it's Battleship. Like, D18.
Oh, Lord.
But yeah, it fascinates me. Because, I mean, like, I think it comes from a very pure place. I think that we pour a lot of our empathy into animals, that we read so much into them, and we look at them as the ultimate in taking advantage of people.
Oh, yeah.
And so when you look at the two of them side by side, the 4-year-old and the gorilla seems more put upon. The gorilla seems more helpless. And I think that is, I think it comes from an incredibly pure place of empathy and love for those less powerful than us. And yet at the end of the day, it turns into, like, and again, I'm inventing possibly a straw man argument, but I don't think that it's out of this world to say that some people would
think that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know. I don't know where it exactly comes from, but I suspect it's there.
I will say the one thing that did kind of irritate me about that article, though, like bringing the African people back into it. I think that the issue with that is
Cecil the lion thing.
Yeah, I think that the issue with that is like that is a bigger, broader problem in general. Because I know as somebody like who cares about the lion thing in general, like my instinct was like this happens every day in Africa. Like people doing lion hunting. Like Cecil wasn't special, you know.
Yeah.
Like on one hand, I was glad I was bringing in awareness, but like when I hear something like that, see this, it's kind of like, well, that sucks, but I can care about both, and so like those sorts of things
that's also
irritate me.
that is a more colorful, exotic version of like, hey, you're against deer hunting. Try driving through the mountains during deer season when they're jumping out in front of your car and wrecking it. Like that's basically a more exotic version of
When's that coming out in Vive?
Oh, big buck hunter. Or deer driver.
Driving through the mountains. Oh my god.
I'll tell you what, we're actually flying through on this. I think we're actually just going to go ahead and get into your emails. We have great emails coming up right after this. Of course, you can send your emails to justinrobertyoung@gmail.com. Again, that is justinrobertyoung@gmail.com. Jared writes, I just finished my second semester of college, and it wasn't a very good one. Earlier in the semester, I dropped a class because I slept through it one too many times. The last 2 months of work at my first and only ever job, working with my family at our restaurant, have also been noticeably worse to me and my mood. Also, I'm a fat dude. Like, I'm effing fat. So I asked my uncle for an easy work month with less shifts. I'm taking summer classes online from school and a week-long board-level repair class at a friend's PC repair shop. I forgot where I was going with this. I guess, how do I take a month to get my life in a straight line? That is Jared writing it. So it seems like Jared's overwhelmed. He wants to... This is kind of leading, right? Because he says, how do I take a month off to get my life on a straight line? Presuming that the month off would help.
Yeah.
Do you think that would help?
I think on one hand, like, having time off is good, but I think it's kind of, you need to figure out what the source of your problems are. Or, like, what is the thing that is the core of what's stressing you out? Or finding, I guess, like, this is something for me, like, just finding a hobby that helps you decompress. I don't know. Like, that's what, like, for me, like, that was, like, rock climbing in DDR. But
yeah.
Which I'm doing neither right now, so I need a simpler hobby.
Well, but that was also, I think you were having, just in general, you were not thrilled about a lot of things.
Yeah.
Right? And so doing simple things that you could wrap your hands around was helpful. You can build. I guess here's my big thing, and I got a lot of very, very strong opinions on how you should handle college. But in general, start from square one. Do one thing well. Have it be small, right? But do something that you wouldn't normally do, and do it well. That benefits your life. And then grow from there. Because the processes are what matter. Doing something every single day is what matters. Getting something done, putting it on the calendar, putting it up and knocking it down. That's what matters. The more that you drift, the more that you have a tendency to let the darkness in, right? The more that you start seeing shadows as demons. You start spiraling. And that's something that, I think for you, Jared, what you want to do is just get an idea of get some short-term goals and just get them done. Everything's easier once you have a win. Everything's easier once you have momentum. What is killing you right now is the fact that you're adrift more than anything else. Connor writes, where do you stand on ex-girlfriend sex? I'm 19, she's 20. We broke up this February after a year and change because we went to college 4 hours away from each other. Now I'm back for the summer. She's trying to be friends, as am I. She was dropping me off at my house after going to the beach with friends. Then her car wouldn't start, so she came in. My parents are out of town. We talked for a few hours in a very honest, forthright way, like we always have. We got to talking about sex, probably a bad idea in the first place. To skip the exposition, at a certain point, she said she was turned on. A bit later, she asked if I am. I say no, which was a slight lie. Nothing comes of it. She leaves after we talk a little bit more, and I talk to a female friend of mine who's convinced my ex will do the same thing again. I'm not so sure, but I figure I'd ask my Uncle Jerbs for advice just in case. Well, you have your Aunt Ashley here as well.
Why didn't you just have sex with a girl? Like, what? I guess I don't understand, like, what, like, the actual issue is here, unless you just don't, or unless you just don't want, if you want to be done there, if that's the case, but it sounds like you're torn about it.
Well, this is very, very funny because I've gotten emails like this before, but they're always, I just had sex with my ex-girlfriend and now I'm in love with her again, right? It's always people who have already had sex that are now trying to process exactly what that means. This young lad, Connor, is saying, hey, wait a minute. Number one, applause to you, Connor, because you have everything laid out for you. I'm glad you brought this to me before you did it. I'm going to go ahead and echo Ashley's sentiment that if you believe that this is just summer loving, but oh, those summer nights, then go forth. March forth. Go ahead.
I think the bigger question is with this person that you're trying to be friends with, you know, do you just want to remain friends? Because if that is the case, I would almost want to go in and be clear. Like, even if you want to go in and have sex with this girl, be clear that that's it. Because once you're apart again, like, maybe you don't want to deal with long distance relationships or other this stuff.
Well, they broke up. They broke up because of that.
They did.
Yeah.
So maybe this could be just a fun fling thing, but I mean, just figure out what your goals are. If your ultimate goal is just to be friends, make sure you're clear in communication from the start before even hooking up again.
Yeah.
Granted, that doesn't mean people couldn't get feels and whatever, but you know,
I mean,
make sure you know your end goal before going in and be clear in communicating.
In general, I always say that, you know, there's two elements of having sex with your ex that a lot of people, I think, wind up conflating. Number one, people are like, oh, should I have sex with my ex-girlfriend? When'd you break up? Yesterday. It's like, man, you're not really even exes yet, right? Like, yeah, you filed the paperwork, but like, this ain't official. Like, you guys are still in, there's a lot of loose tendrils of feelings still happening. But Connor, man, again, Connor, you are the future of America. All hail Connor. I want, if you are listening to this right now, just hashtag all hail Connor. He broke up in February. It's been a little bit. I think a statute of limitations is past enough that now you can approach things as not people who very recently broke up, right? If you believe, so my general sex with the ex problems are, you know, you are rolling the dice because you have obviously established a more rich romantic relationship. And that is tricky when you are dancing around that by just trying to think that you're having sex, you know, just, you know, for laughs. So I would say if you believe that this is just what it is, and you're having forthright and honest conversations with this woman, then man, you got it, baby. You got it. Have a great time. If anything, use this as a brilliant summer to figure out, to expand your sexual horizons. Have a great time. Love, Uncle Justin and Aunt Ashley.
Yeah. I think that, man, I still want to talk about this, but that's okay.
Oh, no. What
on.
else? What else do you have?
No, it's just, you know, he mentions that it was a lie that he saying he wasn't turned on. So, like, is it that he doesn't want to move forward? And again, that just comes back around to figure out what your end goals are.
He was keeping it in, right? Because he was
under the belt.
Because he was like, I don't know whether or not this is going to be good or bad.
Yeah.
So here, the possible bad parts are if she is catching feelings. Let's say he cares about her and cares about her enough. And again, second level thinking, man. Connor, all hail Connor. Hashtag all hail Connor. If he's saying, listen, I care about you enough that I know how you are, and I know if we start having sex, then this is going to be more than just that for you. And now we're going to get into ugly conversations, and I would like to avoid that by denying myself delightful
Earthly
sex
pleasures.
times. Like, then Connor's basically Christ. Connor's the best. I'm going to dedicate this podcast to just talking about Connor. From here
Hail
on out.
Connor.
All hail Connor. Hashtag all hail Connor. We got some late coming JuRY in your house store emails. Since you're going to the Cincinnati area for the trip, I thought I'd mention that Lexington, Kentucky, while being a college town, has a lot of breweries. West Six, Blue Stallion, Country Boy, Ethereal are all nice breweries with good tap rooms. Maybe too far out for the tour, but that's fine. I think I'd mention it if you want some nice Kentucky craft beers. While I plan on being able to drive to any Cincy, Northern Kentucky stops, I can act as your own personal Uber for Lexington and Cincinnati. We have a tremendous amount of offers for people to drive me around. I will be taking everybody up on all of them. I'll be parking my rental car. And anybody who wants to drive me around, you will have that opportunity.
And that was from Bob.
That was from Bob. Meanwhile, Josh writes, another crazy thought is to get you to Charlotte. 7-hour drive from Cincinnati. And then he has his own thought about doing Cincinnati, Knoxville, and then Charlotte. Josh, the South will rise again. Maybe not for the Confederacy, but certainly for the JuRY in your house tour. I would definitely love to do a Southeastern swing, and Charlotte would very much be a front runner on that list. All right, so another thing that came up last week was an email from somebody who was currently in he had a low sex drive. And so his, I believe, wife or partner was very much getting frustrated, and it was starting to strain on the relationship. We got a bunch of emails. Here are 3 of them. Anonymous Diamond writes, I'm not sure how applicable, insightful, or funny my story is, but I might as well relate. I'm in my late 20s, male with an undiagnosed anxiety problem with a self-loathing chaser. I've been in a long-distance relationship with my girlfriend for years, and it wasn't until a year and change ago that I moved thousands of miles to my new life. Things have been great. My work is wonderful. I love her. She loves me. However, she's had sex, and I haven't. My virtual asexuality was okay for the first few months, but it's become a huge strain on our relationship. It's not that I don't have a sex drive or a lack of desire to have sex, but whenever I get close to it, my internal monologue starts yelling, quote, I'm not worthy of this. I'm just going to mess this up. She's going to realize just how horrible and awful I am, and everything's going to turn to ash. I shouldn't even try to be happy. I always just end up wounded and alone, unquote. This, as it turns out, is a turnoff. My girlfriend points out rightly that high schoolers blasted on bottles of Mike's Hard Lemonade can figure this out. I should be able to be up to the task. But no matter how much she tells me that there's no pressure, no matter how much I assure her that I do want to do this, she ends up feeling alone and unwanted, and I feel like an asshole for allowing things to get to this point. I need to know how to make like Nike and just do it. But it's really hard to break that long, self-fulfilling prophecy of depression. That's how I stand right now. Not sure how much of this will help, but I figured I'd share my perspective. Well, I don't know whether or not this is applicable to the email last week, but I think it does help fill in what I kind of wanted, which was, again, the main central mission of this podcast, to understand as many as possible. And this is certainly something that I believe deserves to be understood. Do you have any impressions on Anonymous Diamond?
Like advice or
just thoughts. You read that and you feel what?
like I don't know, like I want to help, but I'm married, so I can't help. But no, like
take my wife, please, to cure your sexual anxiety.
No, This is one of those things that I wanna. I like all I want to say is like just do it, and I totally can and feel like what this lady or dude is feeling on that front. Like,
Yeah.
I have heard as a non-pot smoker that pot may help with that sort of anxiety with it. The stuff.
Certainly can well, but then again, it's a crapshoot, right? Because
Well,
like for me, it takes my inner monologue to a very removed place. For you, it takes your inner monologue to a
The
heightened
opposite,
place,
yeah.
right? And there are certain differences in strains and yada yada yada. But I mean, like, not to get all Tommy Chong.
But what about like just talking to a counselor? Like,
So I think that's a huge part of
it. That's not. Yeah, people don't like going to, psychiatrist or anything like that just because they think that it makes them crazy or something. But it doesn't make you crazy. It's just having a friend to help you work through some stuff. I mean, I've been to one several times.
Here's my I don't know enough about this to give you any kind of
Yeah.
hard answer, and I don't think that he's necessarily looking for an answer. So I can only give
Gotcha.
my best advice. The person that will sex your girlfriend, the person that will have awesome sex, is happier about themselves than you are about you. That's just a fact. You're not happy with yourself. Now, I don't know. There are a million different roads to getting to happy with yourself, right? And for everyone, they're different. But if you are not looking for it, that's a problem. That is a problem for you, because this has become an issue. This has become an issue for you and your girlfriend, but more specifically, whether or not your girlfriend leaves, whether or not you leave your girlfriend, whether or not you find another girlfriend, you find a wife, you find a boyfriend, you find whatever you're searching for in life. If you're not happy with yourself, nobody's going to be happy. The light that you can give to other people is spawned within you. So get on the pathway to finding more light in yourself. Trust yourself. Because if you don't, then this problem never gets solved. But meanwhile, Paul has maybe the best advice on this. Paul writes, I just listened to the Cannonball Run episode, and I have zero relationship experience, and thus find it difficult to relate to Michael and his girlfriend. However, I am a Savage Love reader and long standing, and would encourage Michael to dip into Dan Savage's columns and podcast archives. The question of sexless relationships comes up so often that Savage had to call a moratorium on it. The standard advice seems to be talking it out, going to couples counseling, and making sure that non-sex having partners' lack of libido isn't due to some psychological or medical cause, i.e. antidepressants, or that are wrecking their sex drive. If the problem persists, Michael may ask himself if it's willing to stay in a sexless relationship for another 40 to 50 years and prolong the frustration he's already feeling. Getting his physical needs met. Oh, wait, I think I mixed it up. Michael does want to have sex. His partner does not want to have sex. Getting his physical needs met elsewhere is an option, but obviously that brings the risk of blowing up the relationship if his girlfriend still insists on monogamy. That raises a potential side issue of why he'd stay in a relationship with somebody who won't have sex with him or let him have sex with somebody else. What's more important to Michael, staying in a sexless but otherwise fulfilling relationship at 23, or taking a chance on finding a relationship in which he can simply be happy and get all of his needs met? That seems to be a big question. I've reached the extent of my limited knowledge, so I just wish Michael all the best in his search for the answer. So again, the answer on the JuRY podcast about this sexual dysfunction is listen and read Michael Savage. There we go.
Dan Savage.
Dan Savage. Wait, is Michael Savage the political one?
Might be.
Don't
Dan Savage is
listen
really
to
good.
all the Savages.
I listen to that religiously, by the way.
I know you do, and that's
Yeah.
why I knew that you'd get a kick out of it.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, we leave off with this one from Christopher. On my 18th birthday, my mom tried to hook me up with my senior English teacher. The teacher was totally into it. I guess this is less an embarrassing story and more of a story about how I almost dated my English teacher. Or is it? I immediately emailed Christopher back and said, please send more about this English teacher. Maybe we can follow up with him next
Or the
week.
teacher.
Or the teacher. If you're the teacher, please write in as well. Also, listen to Fred Savage. Folks, if you want to email in, it is justinrobertyoung@gmail.com. Put jury in the subject line. Again, Justin Robert Young. Put jury in the subject line. Folks, if you find yourself in a gorilla pen with nowhere else to go, if you find yourself in either Louisville, Chicago, or Cincinnati,
If you find yourself mad at your husband for not telling you about it,
then, ladies and gentlemen, remember that my name is Justin Robert Young, and this is my lovely wife, Ashley Paramore. We are reminding you to please don't.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.